New subclass for Barbarian in Baldurs Gate 3 patch 8, the Giant Barbarian is extremely overpowered if you know how to build him correctly. Extreme crowd control, extreme single target damage, this build can do everything. Hail and mashed kings and queens, it's me, Spot the King, welcome to Baldurs Gate 3. The new patch 8 just released and it's great time to replay the game. And the coolest part, in latest patch every class got additional subclass. We got a lot more choices to make. And if you clicked on this video, you want to see a new build for Barbarian. That's what we are building here today. Barbarian as class will have all proficiencies we need, so you can technically run with any race you like. And there's not a lot of things to choose from. For background, I'm going with Outlander to get proficiency in athletics and survival, and in skill proficiencies I'm choosing perception and intimidation. Right now we can't choose our new subclass, we need to level up first, and to level up we need right skill, ability, distribution. So since we're a damage dealer, we are melee class most of the time, we want high strength at 17. As Barbarian we will be able to add constitution to our armored class, but only when we're wearing no armors. And that's where this build can be a little bit flexible. You can go with max constitution and use clothing basically, you will have higher HP, higher constitution and all other benefits. Or you can go into other direction and get high dexterity and wear medium armors. It doesn't matter too much, so you can actually adapt this Barbarian for your party composition. If you're planning to play with Monk and some other guys who are wearing no armor at all, then definitely go for dexterity and get medium armor. If you're planning to use Cleric, Paladin and other fighters that will probably like medium armors, like Ranger for example also, then definitely go for Constitution. As Barbarian you don't need any intelligence whatsoever, as well as Charisma. Charisma is actually a nice stat to have for dialogue checks with intimidation, but come on, it's better to have no penalty in wisdom, so we're stacking 10 wisdom. And Barbarian is extremely easy to play and straightforward class, especially early on. All you need to do is to pop up a rage, class specific action, or I would say bonus action of course. For 10 turns you will deal extra damage with melee and improvised weapons and throwing attacks, you will gain resistance to basic damage types, physical damage, and will gain advantage on strength checks and saving throws. So basically whenever combat starts, you just pop up rage, you cry, and you unleash on enemies. Most of the time you will actually hit and destroy them, but even if you miss you're fine, because you got resistance to a lot of attacks and especially you get loads of health. So basic attacks almost doing no damage. And when enemies is nearby, don't forget to use your weapon actions, like Cliff for example. It can attack multiple enemies at once and you can easily slash both of them in the same action. If you're not planning to move, most big axes will have this prepare action. It will give you also extra damage, so it's easier to destroy targets in one hit. Completely melted. And the biggest fun begins right when we go into the wilderness and advance our character a little bit further. As almost any basic martial class, we don't need to pick anything, we just level up. Level 2 Barbarian, just any Barbarian will have the danger senses, he will have protection from traps, spells and surfaces in form of advantage on dexterity saving throws. And also he will have reckless attack. It's insanely good, especially in early game, because yeah, you can impose advantage against yourself, make yourself a little bit vulnerable for enemies, but also you will have advantage on attacks of your own. So this makes us pretty much one of the best classes at level 2 in form of making just basic melee attack. But the actual fun begins at level 3. So level 3 will give us ability to pick subclass. Before patch 8 there was Wild Heart with some niche builds, they nice but only few of them actually good. Wild Magic, it's just Barbarian for fun, how I call him. It's a lot of fun to play with a lot of different effects that can occur when you pop up a new rage, Wild Magic. But honestly best one was Berserker, because he got Frenzy instead of basic rage, that gives ability to use bonus action as throwing attack or Frenzy Strike, basically extra attack. So technically when most martial classes getting this double extra attack at level 5, we are getting it at level 3 as Berserker. And throwing builds is just too good, too powerful in Baldur's Gate 3. Today we're talking about Giant, however, since it's our newest subclass for Barbarian and making build for Giant of course. Giant is not looking like very cool at this point, and if you don't know what's coming up next, you definitely won't pick Giant. It looks like a most boring class you can pick. You can increase your carrying capacity, that's not a big deal actually. You can use this Thaumaturgy cantrip, and probably your support already have it, but it's nice to have it for yourself. You can have advantage on intimidation checks, basically when you try to scare enemies. And you will have new type of rage. So this rage will be Giant Rage. You will gain resistance to physical damage as always, but coolest part, you will have increased size. And your rage damage bonus is double on throwing attacks. Only on throwing attacks. So it's kinda sounds smart to make Giant Barbarian who throwing some stuff. Still, double rage damage means you will be able to deal 2 extra damage. As Berserker, you can make 1 extra attack, which is a lot better of course. But still this rage is extremely powerful. Let me explain why. But let's quickly look at our next levels. Level 4 we can pick a feat. This feat will be pretty obvious one. Tavern Brawler. You can pick 1 ability point, it will go into strength of course to round it up to 18. And when you make an armed attack or using improvised weapon or throw something, your strength modifier is added twice to the damage and attack rolls. This means you will be hitting your targets more often and also deal more damage. At level 5 we will get extra attack, so as any other martial class, but as Barbarian we get in fast movement. Our movement speed increased by 3 meters while not wearing heavy armor. And of course we're not wearing heavy armor as Barbarian. So as you can see my race is Wood Half Elf, and Wood Half Elf got this extra 1.5 meter movement speed. Now it's 4.5 meter movement speed. Basically we got extra movement speed, the same that dwarves got in a base kit, but not extra. Their basic movement speed is around like 6 meters or something like that. But coolest part is Giant Barbarian, that's where we start to unlock our funny actions that we will use to build this build around. So Boots of Giants is basically ability to kick someone. We will try to kick our target, chances will depend on athletics, and we get really high chances, and we can kick targets up to twice the weight that shoving them would allow. So basically it's like shoving action, but also it's doing some damage. What and how this damage is calculated? That's actually the trick how to make this Barbarian work. Since technically there is no information how it's calculated, but I would say you, it's basically our melee attack. And melee damage is really easily checkable by unequipping your weapon. So as you can see, it's the same. Technically melee damage is like your strength modifier, so it's +4 with additional of 1 damage. So why it's not 5? Because we're using Tavern Brawler, therefore we will always deal 9 damage. It may not sound like a big deal, but it actually is, because it's flat and pretty standard damage. Whenever you roll your basic damage attacks from your weapon, you can hit, for example with our setup right now, in a range of from 5 to 16. And it's pretty normal to make like 5 attacks in a row that will hit for 6, 8 damage. With Boot of the Giants we always have this flat 9 damage. And this changes a bit how we approach fight at this point. Basically, we're raging as always, that's something you want to do as Barbarian, but now we're in a big size. And it may not sound like a big deal actually, but it's actually a big deal, because when you're big, when you're so big, you're basically unshovable. And technically what we are doing, we're just attacking enemy once, and in case we're missing, we always will be prompted with reckless attack reaction. So in case we miss, we will have chance to succeed. Then of course we're doing our next extra attack, so for double damage, and as you can see we roll critical miss, but we can roll for critical hit instead, that's crazy. And with Tavern Brawler it's extremely easy to hit Boot of the Giants. With Rage it will be 11 damage, so 11 damage is a big foot in the head. Why movement speed is so important and why this Barbarian is actually so cool. So we basically can bully our opponents extremely easy. While we are staying close to them and we are so big, we are basically unshovable. They can't get away. They will be forced to run away anyway. And this will make them take a hit from opportunity attack. We can use this advantage later on to completely break our build. But main idea for this class right now will be to basically come close to enemy, do some attacks and stay right in front of him so he can't run freely. This is especially useful against the guys with the bows or range attacks, because now they're threatened, they will most likely will have no ability to hit us with their attacks, and we just stand in front of them. Next turn we push them with the face kick, come close, and they technically out of combat again. We're messing enemy positions a lot. But to completely wrap up the build and make it even more powerful, and coolest part about this Barbarian, as with most my other builds, You don't need lots of equipment to start rolling, so we're not going into late game-ish Act 3. You can figure out what gear to get in Act 3 by yourself by understanding how build works. But in the beginning you don't even need weapons. You can just use goblins and throw them as improvised weapon. You will deal nice damage by doing this. And yeah, you will have 2 attacks per action, so throwing goblins and running to him and using him as improvised weapon again. That's how you play Barbarian in a true form. So let's elevate our power by getting right items. First one you will have in the Hollow in Druid Grove. Just buy it from Aaron the Trader. What you're looking for is just this ring of flinching. You will gain 1d4 bonus to throwing damage. Now a little bit optional step. I don't like when builds rely on this, but that's something you can do. You may find Auntie Ethel in Druid Grove too, and she always will have Elixir of Heal Giant Strength in her disposal. So you want to try and steal it or buy it. Better to buy it, of course, try to get some money. And every time you level up and spend your points and accept with any character, a shop will refresh and you will have extra Elixirs of Heal Giant Strength. Whenever you drink this potion, you will have 21 strength until long rest. So if you want to like min-max and mess around with potions, you can actually completely forget about strength and just max out at constitution, dexterity, wisdom, charisma and have insanely overpowered character. That's something this build is not rely on. And another thing we're not relying a lot of is extremely good weapons, but if you'll get to Goblin Camp early and talk with Grad the Trader, you will get extremely powerful weapon, Returning Pike. And in Blighted Village there is a chest that you can easily lockpick as any other class or just pick up as Barbarian and lockpick it with your face kick ability. It's insanely powerful against chests. So Haste Helm is something we're looking for too. At this point your equipment will look like this. Basically Haste Helm for extra movement speed at the start of the combat. This will help us a lot to gaining initial position. Then for armor, if you're going for dexterity, then definitely just go with medium armor. Then of course we got Ring of Flanging from Act 1 and Returning Pike. Returning Pike is extremely powerful because there is one secret attribute in this pike, and it's thrown weapon. There is not a lot of thrown weapons in this game, and especially there is not a lot of good thrown weapons in this game. And especially there's just 3 weapons with homing weapon bonus. This weapon will return to its owner when thrown. How it looks like? Basically, now you can use this pike and throw it, and when it lands, it will get back to your hand. And this will instantly transform your combat and make you completely broken at this point. So Giant Rage as always. If you don't like someone, just kick him, he will fly away and be destroyed, and you will have 2 thrown attacks with this pike. Pike is extremely powerful and will do extremely high extra damage on top, because we're adding Tavern Brawler, which is our strength modifier, as well as Ring of Flinching 1d4 roll with extra rage 2 times, so it's extra +4 damage on top of Ring of Flinching roll. And you got 2 rolls of this attack, so you can one-shot most enemies in the early game extremely easy. But here's the problem, you will move to the mid-game, and that's where Returning Pike will be like mediocre weapon until extremely late game when you finally get the best homing weapons. That's the cool part about Giant Barbarian, we're not relying on this. So let me explain. At level 6 we're getting our new and cool action, Elemental Cleaver. This will give us ability to deal additional acid, cold or other damage types when weapon is thrown, and weapon will gain thrown property and it will immediately reappear in your hand. So just look at this. Now instead of being locked into our basic weapons, you can get basically any weapon you like. What I suggest with this build is to have some nice big long pike with extra reach or some powerful great axes. This one is just for showcase, it's Act 3 weapon of course, but again that's the power. Basically you can scale your weapons and not stick with Returning Pike all the time. You just pop your rage and now use Elemental Cleaver. It uses no action, no bonus action, you just pick the element you like, and that's also a nice and big advantage for us, since we can basically examine enemy, check their resistances, their vulnerabilities. Is enemy vulnerable to fire damage? Let's use fire element. We got Elemental Cleaver fire or lightning, and your damage will start deal a lot of extra damage. And now we can easily throw this weapon, it will instantly reappear in our beforehand, and damage is just insane, because most weapons is balanced around being homing weapons. They're a little bit weaker versions. Now you can get any weapon in the game and turn it into throwing masterpiece basically. And also this extra damage from elemental cleaver will act like a damage riding source, so whenever we deal this extra lightning damage, it also benefits from our Ring of Fleeting, so we add an extra 1d4 of the same damage type and double rage bonus. And we can make basically 2 throws of this weapon and finish down with a nice kick to push enemies. Now we have a big question. Should we actually continue as Barbarian? And my answer will be no, you should not continue as Barbarian. Instead, what we want to do, we want to change our class and add a Rogue subclass. Get 1 more level in Rogue, it will give us ability to use dash as bonus action in case we need to run away, or maybe close the distance, maybe want to hide in some cases. But most importantly, at level 3, Rogue will be able to pick subclass. Yeah, there's new Swashbuckler subclass, and if you want to see a Swashbuckler build, don't forget to write in the comments and I will make Swashbuckler faster, but we of course picking Thief subclass for extra bonus action. And now again you kind of need to make a choice how you're leveling this Barbarian and how you're using him in a battle. If you're only using throwing weapon, so if you're only throwing your weapon, then what you want to do is to continue as Barbarian and basically finish with Barbarian, because at level 7 you will get Feral Instinct, you will have bonus initiative and won't be ever surprised. That's a big stuff Barbarian. At level 8 Barbarian and our character level 11 we get feat. So this feat will be basic straightforward feat, strength +2. We will hit more often, we will deal more damage, and that's just simple and smart way to do and build our Barbarian. But if you're using not like big great axe, but a big slashing weapon with high and long reach, there's another option how you can level up. So you can go and pick Sentinel feat. Sentinel will give you advantage on opportunity attacks, and also it will point enemy into place whenever you hit him with opportunity attack. For this build specifically I will go with strength, but if you went for Sentinel, then finish with Rogue level 4 to get 1 more feat, and then get ability improvement strength. So that's like that. And if you like any other feats, you actually can go with this Rogue. But what I will do, I will go with 9 Barbarian 3 Rogue and finish with Brutal Critical. That's special Barbarian feature that will give us ability to roll extra damage die when we are rolling critical hit. To finish build based on items, you will want to find bunch of infernal irons in Act 1. And by being a good guy in Act 2, you will be able to change these infernal irons for Flow to Heal Dusk gloves that will add 1d4 fire damage to your weapon attacks and 1d4 necrotic damage to your unarmed attacks. And Boots of Giants is exactly unarmed attack. If you find yourself doing more throw attacks than bullying enemies with melee attacks, then go for Marksmanship Head. You will buy it from Raw Moon Glow in Moonrise Towers in Act 2. It will add your bonus to attack rolls and thrown attack rolls. But that's the main idea of the build and how to use this class efficiently. So in the fight of course we're doing Giant Rage as always, but now with the Thief Rogue subclass we got 2 bonus actions. And we will play like a true bully. So we need to find out who is the most dangerous person for our allies. And we need to find 2 targets, or even 1 target will be okay. What we want to do is to just push enemies around. It will break their positioning, they will be far more away from our allies than they should be, and when enemies is pushed away, now we can use of course our elemental cleaver and we can throw weapon to enemy number 1, he will be dead in 1 hit. And we go and hit enemy number 2 with basic attack, or we throw weapon and then come close to him. Idea is extremely simple. Now enemies, as you can see, will be trying to hit us from the close range and it will be extremely hard, and as I told you, they basically can't run away. We basically push and kick them where game allows and stand still in front of them. AI probably knows that we got Sentinel feat, so make sure if you find out that enemies never try to run away from you, just remove this feat and get more Constitution or Tough feat for more HP. And if you're curious what is the best weapon you can find, of course it will be Balduran Giant Slayer, because it will add your strength to your attack rolls. And that's what's make this Giant Barbarian so broken. You can basically throw these broken weapons and they deal insane amount of damage on hit. If you're curious what you're losing for by not going completely completely monoclass Barbarian, you're losing only Mighty Impel technically. It's a new action for Giant Barbarian and it got insanely cool animation, and you will be able to basically throw enemies when they're even of the big size like humans. And technically it's just a better way to do shove action or throw action, because throw action will be determined by your power. So with this strength around 20 we'll have that range, but if we pump up Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength we can use in Act 3, and that's where we actually will get this ability to Mighty Impel. We can already throw targets for a lot higher range with high strength, but Mighty Impel will be locked in the same range, so it's kinda better if you're not abusing potions. And I like this animation, just look at this stuff. Damage is not cool though, so it's just mostly for fun. And this Barbarian is definitely fun. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch other cool builds on the screen right now, because you need some nice party for this bro to have loads of fun in Baldur's Gate 3, and see you in the next videos.